What do you hate me? Why can't I stand and walk away? Why is it so damn hard to stay? Never sick because I got something to say. I'm so sick of all your problems lately. You need your drama so you keep me around. If things ain't getting any better anytime soon, I'm sick of time of being pushed around. So I'm waiting for the storm to save me. When everybody wants to shut me down. When I ain't hearing one word you gotta say to me. Right now I'm trying to figure you out. When you bring me down. Every time I turn around and I ask you why. Why do you hate me? Why you try changing who I am? Now why can't I make you understand? Now understand that you always about to come to an end. No one ever gave a fuck until right now. When the right is I'm giving it up. Well, I've been giving everything I ever had to give. But right now I'm just not giving a fuck. So what? So I'm praying for the stars to say what? But you can bet I'm getting sick of your lies. Well, I ain't wrong what you got. So then why should I even try to bring me down? Every time I turn around and I ask you why. Why? You keep dragging me down. Still facing to the ground. I ask you why. Why you keep beating me? I can't take this anymore. I gotta ask you why. Why do you drag me down? Every time I turn around and I ask you why. Why do you hate me? Yeah, wasn't always gonna be like that. You know it's always your way. Look at your seat past that, yeah. The one day you're gonna understand that you've been finding your words for too long and no one cares. Now all these people that you keep by your side, and they don't know you like I do, and all the secrets that you try to hide. Chasing where I'm always look at you. I spend the night with my back to the turn, and now I'm through with you. You bring me down. Every time I turn around and I ask you why. You keep dragging me down. Slip my face into the ground. I ask you why. Why you keep beating me? I can't take this anymore. I gotta ask you why. Why do you drag me down? Every time I turn around and I ask you why. Why do you hate me? Well. Welcome to another stream of Bad Apple Media, where I'm eating an apple and some peanut butter at the beginning of the show stream. So let's just get into it, really. I was over at OTW watching that so-called debate with that douchebag Landry being the moderator. And just as suspected, he was, I wouldn't say biased, in the sense that he was favoring Jaren over OTW, but when you disappear and you don't even show yourself in the so-called debate, and Jaren is allowed to take over the
shares and whatnot. I would say that's kind of biased. Not douchebag Landry proved exactly what me and Snafu even said he was going to do. Well, hey, no better way to get me to leave a stream. No better way to get me to leave a stream than to put me in a timeout. So whoever did that over there, kiss my ass. How's that? I say nobody. I'd say the chat won. I'd say the chat won that stream or that debate. So let's vote the chat. I was in the chat the entire time until clearly somebody got butt hurt. I don't know if it was Jeeps or OTW himself. Oh, but look at that. Look who shows up after I'm gone. The old Snafu Meister. Look at that. But let's hear what has to be said here.
Charge of the camera. Like I can, like if if your camera was you're off to the side or something. It's like, no, that's your camera, bro. And he's telling Dave, like, I'll never be on his summit again. What, because you're retarded? That makes sense. Thanks a lot there.
You said something here.
I just
it's really important.
Flat earthers that I guess I can't expect them to do anything different. I can't expect Bro Sanchez to throw away everything he's built. Just can't. Can't expect Whitsitt, I guess. I guess I can't expect any of these bigger names, or like the Ether boys, the Ether Cosmology Group, Alan and Shane. They now have a following. People think they're cool. People think they're funny. People watch their show. To them, the death of Flat Earth is the death of them. So they can't. They're not going to admit it. They're just. It's better for them. And again, I get it. I now understand the world why people lie, because it's better sometimes. In this case, for me to lie would be better for my bottom line, would be better for my pocketbook, would be better for my career if I would have lied. And that sucks to say because I wouldn't change what I did. But it's just like Jussie Smollett, that guy who did the fake, they jumped me, I'm a black guy, they put a noose around my neck, and it turns out it was fake, right? They caught the guys that he paid to.
Well, everybody's saying that this Jaren guy is fake. Nobody's interested in this. Nobody's interested in this. Everybody says this Jaren guy's fake. I don't know him from Adam. But what I have seen kind of tends to get me believing the same. Maybe he is a government plant, a shill, or just a deceiver in itself. I don't know. But I was in the chat tearing him up. And I'm not an expert when it comes to the shape of the earth. But I am fairly certain that we're not on a ball zipping through space. There's no way that that's even possible. All right, I'm done eating my apple. You guys will be happy now. But there's no way, shape, and form that we're going in 3 different directions at millions of miles an hour, according to their model and their calculations. And you can't feel any of that. I'm sitting here looking at my bottle of water on my desk, and it's as smooth as glass. And if I tap my desk, I can see the water move. You're going to tell me that we're on a ball of dirt zipping through the vast emptiness of space at 3 different calculations of speed in 3 different directions all at the same time, and you don't feel any of it? But if the earth quakes, you can feel it. Get the fuck out of here. Occam's razor is the only explanation. Not only that, but being a truck driver in the transportation industry for as long as I've been, during my research, I wanted to come to the answer. I asked God Almighty, to give me the answer. Show me what's up. Actually, I'm going out of pattern here. I'm going. Let me back this up a little bit. I forgot that I changed the title to victim appearance rates first, and then OTW versus Jaren debate. So hold the thought about this Jaren OTW debate. Let me get to the victim appearance rates. I wanted to point this out to any of you who have been following along, or you're familiar with my current situation where the criminal claims he's a victim, and me, the victim, is being labeled a criminal. And let's take you into a little piece of the world. I'm going to remove that video there. Can you guys see my Bad Apple Media insignia on here, or is it just a white circle? Lynette, Tony, can either of you see my Bad Apple Media insignia, my avatar, or is it just a white circle? Can you tell me? Because I've been having a little trouble with it showing my. All right, I see on here that it's my. All right, I see on here that it's my. I got my avatar. Okay. All right, I see the avatar. Shockingly enough, it's there today. Lately, it's just been a white circle. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, Lynette. So again, as I'm labeled a criminal by a so-called victim, the evidence or the actions of the alleged victim show that they're not quite the victim as they want to, make themselves out to be. Because most victims, they just don't show up. Let me remove this from. There we go. Most victims, statistically speaking, they don't go out of their way. They don't really want to be included in the criminal process. They want it to go away for the most part. And this is something that I came across that I'll show you guys here. Let me blow it up a little bit. This is the reluctant victim research that it's from Washington government. I don't know if it's the Washington state. I don't know. I just perused the internet a little bit and dug into it. Got the actual statistics I could show you here. Let's do this. I type in how many victims end up testifying against the defendant. Let's type that in real quick, and this pops up. Let's share this tab. You can see this, right? Okay. I know I'm so boring and not interesting. I don't have any content. I'm not just sitting there having a lame ass conversation with somebody. So the number of victims who end up testifying against the defendant can vary significantly depending on the case. Victims of crime are often required to testify at trials, and their testimony is crucial, blah, 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 blah. And then so, let me see. Kind of big and refused to test. Where was I looking at that earlier? Where was I looking at that earlier? Anywho, we can, on my phone, it gives me the opportunity to dig deeper in the AI. I could pull it up on my phone and read it to you. Sorry, guys. As I tell you all the time, I'm not a very good YouTuber. I'm not prepared. But let's. All right, this is here it is. There's no single average percentage of people reluctant to become witnesses and testify as victims because the rates vary significantly depending on the type of crime, the jurisdiction, and the specific circumstances of the case. However, studies show that reluctance is a major issue in the criminal justice system. In one study, using 10 years of data from Philadelphia, 47% of victims failed to appear in court. The rate of non-appearance for domestic violence victims was particularly high, around about 70% in some jurisdictions. For child sexual abuse victims, one study found that 38% of a sample of online victims refused to disclose anything initially, and in another sample, 26% of victims' responses during questioning exhibited reluctance. The surveys of prosecutors, not a shock that prosecutors will blame it on something else. Surveys of prosecutors have found that 51% in large jurisdictions consider victim and witness intimidation a major problem, which directly contributes to reluctance. The reason for reluctance, the reason for reluctance are complex and varied, including fear of retaliation by the perpetrator or others is a primary factor. Desire to put the incident behind them and avoid the trauma of reliving the event in court. See, this is a big point, if you ask me, along with which, in my situation, it could be fear of retaliation to a degree, that if you all of your worms or your dirty deeds that you're trying to do behind the scenes and keep it secret are being exposed, and everybody's going to see what kind of person you really are, which is the polar opposite of what you preach, then yeah, that could be the fear of retaliation. And then, for the desire to put the incident behind them and avoid the trauma of reliving the event in court. I wouldn't say that that's exactly accurate in this situation, but the desire to put the incident behind them is a typical thing. But when you go above and beyond your normal behavior of a typical victim, and you're communicating with the courts and the well, I shouldn't say the courts, but the courts too, the court being the judge. But if you're communicating with the prosecutor's office and the detective that's in charge of the case on a regular basis, and you're announcing that I'm calling the prosecutor and I'm calling the detective and I'm telling what you did to me, you're in big trouble, mister. That is a clear sign that something is wrong with this picture. And the individual claiming victim is actually, in all reality, not a victim at all. They are the victimizer. What they're doing is they're weaponizing the courts, and the courts are very, very aware that this is that this can and does occur. And especially in my situation, is exactly what is happening, is that somebody is weaponizing the courts, and they are fully aware of this, but they're allowing this process to unfold, but it's not going to unfold the way that the alleged victim thinks it's going to. And then another one of the points for the reluctance and the reasons to not testify or participate in the criminal proceedings when you're a victim is the lack of trust in the criminal justice system and the concerns that their needs and wishes will not be considered. Well, I'm not sure that even applies here when you are going above and beyond the average victim. Not even the average victim. The average victim, they don't even want to tell the cops what happened. They don't even want to write a statement. They don't even want to, do what they got to do. But most victims, they try to put an end to the actual abuse or the situation that occurred to them, whether they were robbed or they were beat or they are involved in a domestic violence situation with an abusive other half. Most of the domestic violences, they don't even want anything. They just want the person to go away and leave them alone. If criminal prosecution doesn't dissuade them from continuing their bullshit, then certain situations may end up, certain victims in those situations may end up testifying. But then you have another point in the reluctance factor is that it's the emotional distress, the shame, or the guilt surrounding the victimization. I'm not sure if a particular individual has any guilt for what they've done. I don't know, and I can only assume that there's no guilt, because if you're going above and beyond your normal average statistic of victims across the board, and you're claiming I'm a victim, and you contact the courts and the prosecutor and the deputy or the detective nonstop, and you're taking people, or you're taking somebody's content, you're taking every little word and trying to twist it and morph it into something that it's really not. These people do this for a living. Speaking of the courts and the prosecutors and the detectives, they do this stuff for a living. They can see right through this bullshit. It might not have appeared that way in the beginning, but they can see right through this bullshit with ease. And if somebody is so narcissistic and psychopathic and broken in their own psyche that they believe that they can manipulate and convince an entire army of government officials that they are a victim, when they are really the victimizer and the abuser and the aggressor, that to me, that is a clear sign of mental fucking illness, that you can't even gauge it without having a psychological evaluation at a forensic institution where you're ordered to be evaluated, like institutionalized for like a period of time, so they can scan your fucking ass and figure out what is up with you. But other factors in victim reluctancy, not only is the emotional distress, the shame, or their guilt, but the shame, when you get called out on in your own group of people, amongst your own peers, you get called out and you lash out and you accuse, say another guy of covering up something that they had nothing to do with, to, deflect the attention from yourself, which is a typical behavior. The shame is overwhelming, and they go, oh, well, I was trying to protect you from this dangerous man. Well, come on. Like I said, I don't believe that there's any guilt in there, because if there was guilt, this wouldn't be going on. And one of the other things, other points that prevent people from testifying or following through with their alleged victimness is logistical barriers and the general hassle and dysfunction of the court process. And imagine having to travel from 2,500 miles away on a plane to come and testify against somebody who's really not the victim, and trying to formulate your lies and try to come in and portray yourself as such in front of that that's in front of the people that are trying to help you. It's going to be a little difficult battle for someone to get over that bullshit factor when you're when you're clearly the fucking criminal in the situation. And sometimes that these individuals in these positions of power and authority will go along with the game to build a case against another individual, and it may just backfire on you in your endeavors. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the least of, that's the least of my worries at this moment. And then another one of the other factors is that the ties to the offender, such as being in a relationship or having kids with them, or leading to fear of losing financial support or further retribution. It could be the financial support, factor, or it could be social media support. If you think that you're playing victim is going to assist you in your credibility, in one sense, that you say, oh, I'm such a great journalist, a shock journalist, that everybody's out to get, I'm a whistleblower, and people are out to get me, and I'm getting death threats from all over the country. And you kind of have to sometime, somewhere, make your claims have some sort of legitimacy to a degree. So you just pretend that you're a victim when you create the situation by harassing individuals for years at a time, and then you trigger that person to commit a so-called crime, and then you play victim. Well, that's not gonna fly too well when the truth comes out at the end of the day. Not saying that, you know, most of the people that, you know, in that, you know, most of the birds in that flock of feathers that hang together really have any interest in it, because I don't believe that there is. But as a whole, the social media network that's out there, there's plenty of them. I wouldn't think that somebody who's trying to portray themselves as an anti-government individual, or, you know, opposing the police state or their surveillance or the social credit score or whatever it is that you push constantly, nonstop, you know, talking about how evil and bad the government is, and then you want them to be your pals so you can get some credibility. Huh. I find that to be pretty pretty interesting. And then so those ties to the offender could really backfire on your ass when it comes to your support. You know, it could be financially. You might not get any more PayPal or Cash App donations. You might not get any views on your live streams, and you might not get anybody to call the telephone number to get them to come on your stream to have a conversation, or to have a you know, interaction. You might just be ignored by the masses. You might barely crack 100 views on your shit. You know, not saying that, you know, it doesn't happen to others, but it happens to those who are opposing this bullshit. And, you know, the addiction to the insanity. If I come along and I try to tell everybody that you're addicted to this bullshit that's going on with this asinine motherfucker, you guys need to get away from it. Oh no, that addiction is too powerful. That's like telling you, you know what, you're on drugs, man. You need to get away from them drugs. And they're going to argue with you. They're going to tell you no. They're going to continue to accept the negative and get rid of the influence that's trying to put an end to it. I'm disposable. I am disposable. The addiction factor, the shit that somebody's addicted to, they don't want to get rid of that. No matter how foul it is, no matter how poisonous it is, no matter how toxic it is, they continue to crave it. You know what I mean? So, anyways, it's about many things. And then, so those factors highlight that the victim and witness reluctance is a systemic issue, and many victims ultimately opt out of the justice process entirely. So, statistically speaking, very few people are so gung-ho at being the victim. Very few victims are so gung-ho at, I demand more charges. I demand that the tether not be taken off. I demand this. And then you literally harass the prosecutor's office and you harass the detectives that are involved in this. That sends a clear and present fucking sign to them of total and complete danger. Like, who's the problem here? You know, the alleged perpetrator is not calling and harassing the prosecutor's office. He's not calling and harassing the detective. I personally, I've called the detective and told him, what are you, a fucking retard? You're allowing this asshole, you're emboldening this asshole to do what he's doing, and you're going along with it. How fucked up are you, dude? So yeah, I've said some shit to these people, and very well fucking deserve it, because they're a bunch of fucking retards who allowed themselves to stick their foot in a pile of shit. Now they can't get, well, they can get the shit off their shoe, but it's not going to be an easy task. You know, no matter how much shit they get off that shoe, you're going to know that they walked in that shit, because it's going to stink, you know. And the one that they're gonna take that shit off that shoe and they're gonna flick the poo poo, it's not gonna be at me. They're gonna flip the script, and they're gonna go after the motherfucker that made them stick their fucking shit, their foot in the shit. I didn't make them stick their foot in any shit. I tried to tell them, hey man, you're sticking your foot in shit, man. So it's all good. I'm okay with it. I want this process to unfold. I want my day in fucking court, because I'm going to enjoy every fucking second of it. And so that you know, basically, that, you know, most victims ultimately they opt out of the entire process, you know. And so let me see here. Let me dig in a little deeper if I can. I don't know if it'll let me. Sometimes this phone is really weird. All right, here we go. Let me pull up some more. So it does say that. I already read that. Where's that other link at? Where is it at? Where did it go? So, but yeah, Rip Curl. Don't lie, dude. Well, I don't know what you want a link for, Access, but this is not an open panel, dude. You want to have an open panel, you email me at Bad Apple Media and let me know what you want to talk about. Appreciate you being here, but I got other things in mind. I don't plan on being here forever having a conversation. Sorry. Maybe another time. And so, anyways, yeah, that's what's going on in this. So let me pull that other. Let me pull this back up. So when you got this here, this is let me make sure you can see this. Yeah, you can see that. So this is the reluctant victim research that not all victims refuse to testify. Those who work in the court and criminal justice, I don't want to go through this whole thing. I'll be here reading it. It's a pretty pretty in depth. 15 pages. I don't want to go through all of it. The reasons underlying victims' reluctance or refusal to testify: the victims of domestic violence are routinely threatened and manipulated by their abusers to drop the charges or to refuse to cooperate with law enforcement. And then so some of the reasons that they are, it's in addition to the intimidation of domestic violence victims reluctant, many of the same reasons other violent crime victims are reluctant. These include a feeling of shame or guilt that perhaps their behavior in some way caused the abuse. I wonder if somebody, in my situation has, the feeling of shame or guilt that they created the situation. I don't know if they do. I think that their mental illness overrides their rational thought process and they just go and continue the lie. And then I highly doubt that this individual who's, the alleged victim in my case desires to put the whole incident behind them and try to forget that it occurred. Not at all. They are wholeheartedly relying upon this to give them credibility so they could later on say, see, I told you people are out to get me. I'm a victim. I'm a shock journalist that everybody wants to take out because I have such, damning information to share. It's the denial, the ambivalence, and the withdrawal, and the emotional swings that are a result of being a victim of severe trauma. Yeah, there's a whole lot of that. The reasons are often heightened by the following realities. The defendant may be living with the victim. No, I'm not living with, but I am in the realm, so to speak, and be familiar with his or her daily routine. No, I wasn't familiar with his or her daily routine until they drug me into the situation. And I said, what the fuck up? What's up with this bullshit? Where's this motherfucker running his mouth at today? And then, yeah, I do have an ongoing sort of access to the alleged victim. If I go online and stumble across that fucking scumbag online, then that's the way it goes. That's what happens. If you're so scared and you don't want to be the victim, then get the fuck off the internet and go hide in the corner and wait until the trial's over and do whatever you got to do. The victim's past efforts to leave the perpetrator or to seek protection from the justice system may have resulted in further violence. No, there's no violence. There was never any violence. The victim has likely learned that the perpetrator will follow through with threats of retaliation for the victim's efforts to leave or seek help from the justice system. No, I encourage you to seek help from the justice system. I encourage you. I don't want you to leave your fight. I don't want you to stop. That's a choice all on your own. It would probably, I hate to even say it, but it would probably be the best choice that you could ever have is to just walk away from it because it's going to come and bite you in the ass. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not scared of the battle. I'm 110% fully prepared to come into court and to destroy these false accusations, which is, all right with me. And then the court must be aware that a victim's fear is not simply theoretical. Oh, right. Well, I'm pretty sure that we're past that. It's completely and total theoretical. In most cases, the incident before the court has followed a history of escalating violence. Yeah, in my case, the incidents before this court were followed by his history of escalating the harassment. So there is a real basis for the criminal fearing that he or she or his children will be harmed if the alleged victims appears in court and testifies. You see, you can just twist a few words here and it'll suit the situation, if you know what I'm talking about. And so the perpetrator, that would be me, I believe, may be maintaining coercive control over the victim through alternating displays of affection. No, I don't have any affection. And no, there ain't no threats and there is no acts of violence. I want this fucking clown, this alleged victim, to come and testify. I want him to, because he's going to regret that, because it's going to be all over the fucking internet. Everybody's going to see that he's a phony and a fake. Like I said in my little green folder here, where I showed the other day my YouTuber list of fakes and phonies. Well, he's in it because he's a fake and a phony. He's not a real fucking believer in the police state, and he's a part of it. He's actually pushing the police state. He's weaponizing the judicial system to have me maliciously prosecuted. That's if anybody has a lick of sense in their head, they would see that's the polar opposite of what he fucking pushes on his own fucking platform. The victim and defendant, we may have mutual acquaintances. The domestic violence, there is no domestic violence, but it must be considered by civil courts in determining child's residential. So there will be some civil courts involved in this, and they're going to determine my financial restitution that I'm going to not restitution, but my financial gains that I will get. It might not be much, but it'll be something. The perpetrator may have continuing access. The victim may have continuing access as well through arrangements, through mutual visitation on websites. So I could go through all this, and it's just the victim's community and family support who have previously provided protection in the past from the abuse may be threatening to withdraw their support and protection if the victim testifies. Well, that's a possibility, that if people see that he did go through with this, he can lose support in the community that he so cherishes as his family, his little cult members, So it is what it is, and then, I've F up here, the victim, not the defendant, the victim may dependent on the economic support, increasing the likelihood of further acts of intimidation. I'm changing the words here to suit it because it's pretty close to what the reality is. And the victim may believe that intervention of the criminal justice system will not be effective in stopping the bad words or protecting the alleged victim and his mutual pals, because he's a dangerous man. This perpetrator is a dangerous man. This belief may be a result of past experience where the system did fail to prevent the claims that he was a criminal. From 6 years ago. It was not effective. The intervention of the criminal justice system 6 years ago was not effective in stopping my big mouth from being spewed all over the internet. The belief is not a belief. The reality is that the result of past fucking criminal prosecutions that I beat, they did indeed fail to prevent me from shutting my mouth. And so I have said that your malicious prosecutions, no matter who you are, they're not going to stop me from running my mouth. Isn't that funny how this is all kind of falls into place here? You guys see how it's kind of, you just twist a little bit of it, a little bit, and the rights of victims. And this is where I'm going to, even though if you know anything about, and I'm not gonna stay on this topic much longer. I'm gonna get to the OTW versus Jaren debate, but because I don't plan on being here all night and doing a 2 or 3 hour live stream. But the rights of the victim, they really don't have to testify. But if you're going to go to this length and you're going to push this and you're going to cost me thousands of dollars and you're going to put me on a tether and you're going to send letters have your pals, your little cohorts send letters to the judge, which is more red flags to the system itself that never sees anybody doing this type of shit. They're like, what in the fuck? Why would anybody send these letters? Why would they be saying this? Well, sends a clear message to them that you're maliciously fucking playing games with somebody. So let me see. It's the procedures for compelling witnesses to attend and testify. This is the portion that I wanted to talk. Yeah, this is the Washington State thing here that I told you this is from Washington State, but this applies pretty much anywhere. Just a different, just a different bench book of criminal procedure and courts of limited jurisdiction, yada yada yada. So this is it summarizes the mechanics of issuing and enforcing subpoenas. So if somebody decides to not show up because they don't have the courage to come here to try to convince, the judge and the prosecutor and a jury that they truly are a victim, then they'll just like, oh well, I'm just not going to go. Well, that's fine and dandy, but then you put me in a peculiar position, because it'll be an open-ended situation, and I'm not leaving it open-ended. And that's the fucking bottom line here, is that I do not intend to leave this open-ended. I will have somebody fucking subpoenaed, and their ass will be forced to get on a fucking airplane to come here. The only thing that will stop it is if you literally say, I am not proceeding. I want the charges dismissed and I'm retracting my claims and blah, blah. You can't just not show up. That's not how it's going to work. And so it says many witnesses will testify once ordered to do so by the court. Some may feel relief at being able to inform the defendant that they have been ordered to testify and that the decision to testify is in the control of the court, not the witness. I don't care who fucking does it, because, come here willingly or come here reluctantly, as far as I'm concerned, motherfucker's getting on that stand. And if you have to be forced to fucking come here and you got to get the local fucking police department to come and beat on your door and handcuff your ass and take you to jail and put you on a fucking plane and escort you here at the expense of the fucking Macomb County Victim Advocacy fucking Act, then that's what's going to happen. Because you're not going to leave this shit open-ended on my side, because on my side, having it open-ended where it gets dismissed without prejudice, that just makes it difficult for me to sue. Not you, but it makes it difficult for me to sue the county. So your ass is going to come here and you're going to sit on that fucking jury, in that jury fucking, or not jury, in that fucking hot seat, excuse me. And you're gonna fucking run your mouth and you're gonna say what you gotta say, and I'm gonna let a jury of my peers decide who's the liar and who's not. And then when a jury acquits me, that's an open and fucking shut case of fucking prosecution, malicious prosecution. And I'm gonna sue all you motherfuckers. And this is not a secret. I've done told everybody in Macomb County that they're being manipulated, and this fucking clown is weaponizing the judicial system. And when I get done with them all, I'm gonna fucking sue them. Which, again, this is the best thing that could fucking happen to me. It might sound, I was pissed off and I was raging lunatic because I had a fucking tether on my leg. Now that I got the tether off my leg, I don't give a fuck. It's really no big deal. That is a pain in the ass. It really was a pain in the ass. 4 fucking months, $1,000 a day. Do the math, minimum. So to think that you're just not going to show up, think again. And unfortunately, there is a process that my lawyer has to go through, because we can't just ignore filing motions to dismiss. We're going to file the motion to dismiss, but I'm hoping that the judge denies the motion to dismiss, because with a motion to dismiss and the judge decides, yeah, there's, for whatever reason, the judge, grants my motion, then there's the high probability that it will be again dismissed without prejudice. I will not allow this case to be dismissed without prejudice. It will come to an end with prejudice, or I'll go to fucking jail or prison or wherever the fuck I gotta go. I ain't scared. I'm willing to take that fucking chance, because I can guarantee there ain't no fucking jury anywhere would ever believe this fucking guy's bullshit for a hot second. Hell, the fucking courts don't even believe it. The prosecutor don't even believe it at this fucking point, but they're kind of, trying to scrape the shit off their shoe, and they really don't have a choice to a degree. So, and same thing in Michigan, I can have you subpoenaed, and I will bring your fucking ass here. I will bring your fucking ass here. And then it'll be brought up in the court fucking case. When you're sitting on that fucking hot seat, jury's going to know that you had to be drug here because you decided that you were just going to fucking play games. Material witness warrants. And you think that it don't happen. My lawyer was just involved in a case up the road in another county where the victim didn't show up, and the judge dismissed the case without prejudice, and the prosecutor's office the very next day issued the exact same fucking charges, the whole 9 yards again, because that's what without prejudice means. They can do it as many times as they want. And then they ordered the victim witness put a show cause fucking warrant out for them. If you don't know what a show cause warrant means, then that means there's a bench warrant for your arrest. And when you're playing games and you get multiple jurisdictions involved in the situation, where you go to your local place and go, I'm so scared, I'm a victim, he said this, he said that. And then when the prosecutors here communicate with the prosecutors there, or the detectives here communicate with the detectives there, I guarantee you they're going to coordinate this where you're going to fucking, you're going to get a set of bracelets on you, and you're going to go to the fucking pokey, and you're going to fucking be ordered to get on that motherfucking plane. I guarantee it. If I have my say in it, that's what's going to happen with you. I want to go to court. I want you here. I'm praying to God Almighty that your fucking ass comes here. The material witnesses to be released from custody unless the court determines that the testimony of such witness cannot be secured adequately by deposition, or that's another situation. But anyways, the court may require the witness to furnish a bond or other security as permitted in return for his or her release to ensure the witness's appearance at a deposition and or trial. So just because you start some shit, like I say many, many times, and it's a motto on my Facebook page, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. So what we've got here is failure to communicate. Anywho, my point being, me doing this is that a victim, they don't have to show up, but that doesn't mean that, me, the accused, doesn't want his day in court, and that he's not going to demand his day in court. And then when I got a high paid profile lawyer, top dog, pit bull on my side, she's going to say, Your Honor, please subpoena this man and put him on a plane and have him escorted here. And that's what's going to happen. So you guys, you think some of you out here in YouTube streets think you know the law. You think you know you know, you watch Law and Order, you watch a couple episodes of Cops, you know, you watch the Hill Street Blues, whatever the fucking TV show that you watch Hawaii Five-0. So you think you know the law, but you don't know it. I know the law. My lawyer knows the law. And you want to play fucking victim? Oh, let's play victim. Let's play victim. Let's do it. So your ass will come here. Your ass will come here. So let's go into this comment section and read. And you say, Rip Crow says, are the courts going to go after Snaps for his bullshit? No. Well, yet to be determined. I can neither confirm nor deny those accusations. Yeah, he really did do that. And no, he won't. You're absolutely right. For his sake, he should just come clean and let it go, but he won't. Because if he comes clean, he's going to get prosecuted. So he's damned if he do, and he damns if he don't. You know, you should be careful of what you ask for. This is something that a true Christian should understand, is that ask and ye shall receive. So when I'm sitting here dealing with what I'm dealing with, and somebody on the other end thinks that they got the upper hand, well, when you're working for the devil and you're doing the dirty shit that you're doing, you're not turning another cheek, you're not forgiving your brother, you're not doing anything, but you're buying into the end times. It'll be brother against brother, sister against sister. When you're buying into that, and you're doing reprobate shit, you're acting as a reprobate. Is it a shock that it's going to turn around and bite you in your little fucking dick? Well, it shouldn't be a shock that it's going to turn around and bite you in your little fucking dick. So it's going to turn around and bite him in his little dick. So let's move on from the victim appearance rates portion of this to the OTW versus Jaren debate. Let's get to that. And I won't spend much time on it, but I'm going to get you to the next point of the title, The Dangers of Freedom versus Peaceful Slavery. It'll get us to that. It you know, part and parcel, and leads right into it. So let's see if this is up here. Let's pull this up. And let's hear this just for a minute. I know it'll bum you guys out, you know, that I'm playing a video, but, you know, just let's listen to it for a minute.
To do it, but he'll never admit that because it's worse for him. So we tell.
So this guy right here is Jaren. I guess he was a glober turned flat earther, and then went from flat earth to globe, which is once you go flat, you never go back unless you're a government shill or you have ulterior motives.
Tell people like the truth is what sets you free, and the truth is always, and that's not the case. Sometimes the truth is what people don't want to hear, and in which case they're going to you're not going to get any comeuppance for that, you know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this was actually a really great debate. I don't even think it was a debate. It was more of a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. But I mean, look into some of those things. I mean, the thing that bothers me is when because here's the thing: if you say something like you said about the stars, the problem is that I'll hear that in a week from other people, and then because truthers. So here's how I see the audience: truther audience, they trust truthers and don't trust anybody else, right? That's how big.
All right, let me go make a comment. Powder Dusty says, I told you I'd fix your clutch. I just need you to send me the $250 transfer fee first. Well, I wish if I send you $250, Powder Dusty, Flow State, will you fix the clutch if I send you $250? Because I need that clutch to be fixed when I take the car. Because that car will be mine not long from now. You see who's in here? You see who's in this chat? And then when I went live, they kind of disappeared. He's over here watching me now. He disappeared out of the chat over here. It's because he's over here. So was this guy. What was it? Axis Rat Blood was over here. Now he's over here asking for the link to get up into my shit. So they were both over here watching. They could still possibly be here now, which whatever, I don't care. But it is funny that he does that when I notice that when he's in a chat box and he's in there running his yap and I go live, the chat bot, you know, his presence in the chat ends and he's gone. So that means he's over here. So my beef with this Jaren OTW conversation, alleged debate, was that douchebag Landry was supposed to be moderating it. He moderated it for about 2 minutes, then he disappeared. And then it was not basically, it was literally this King Jaren dude just running his yap, you know, trying to rough shot over fucking OTW, which he did for a little bit. And then, you know, OTW was holding his ground for what knowledge that he has, but I don't think he has enough knowledge to debate or have a conversation with this guy. And I would suggest that Jaren debate Eric DeBay or Terry Eichert from Flat Out Truth. And I know that he probably never would do it. But I was trying to make many, you probably can't see it because I'm gone out of there by now. But I was making multiple endless comments about what was being said. And eventually Brown's boy come in there running his mouth going, you accidentally blocked Jeeps. Jeeps is a moderator. And I said, no, I didn't accidentally block her. I blocked her from my channel because she was over here running her fucking Peter Puffer. And I said, you're about to get fucking blocked next. Next thing you know, I'm timed out. So it's probably Landry that did it. Might have been OTW, but I'll confront him about it next time I get on his channel and in his panel, and I'll ask him, did you fucking time me out in your little so-called debate? You know, and he probably won't admit it. Maybe he will. I don't know. But one of the things that I was trying to point out in this so-called debate was enough evidence shows exactly, you know, the flat earth model, geocentric, exists just by the emergency flight paths and the flight paths of commercial airliners going from certain points of the earth to the other points of the earth, which I shared this multiple times on here. Videos that aren't public, they're probably on private or unlisted right now. But one flight from Cape Town, South Africa, we can go to we're going to go to Qantas Air just to, let me see, book a flight. Okay, ASAP tickets, go directly to Qantas, book flights. Here we go. I'm going to share this tab with you guys. This is Qantas's website, and we're going to do a simple flight, if they're even fly out of here, which I'm pretty sure they do, into Auckland. This is just one of the many flight paths that you can. One adult, let's go with one way, and we'll go premium economy, and we'll select the travel dates. Don't need much, but we'll just make it January 1st. And then hit search flights. Let's see. Important information. Your booking subject, South African terms and conditions we charge South. Okay. All right. Okay, great. I'll be charged rands. All right. So here we go. We got rands, which is not dollars. Let's go. No seats. No seats. Look at that. Ain't that something? No seats. Let's go. Let's see what we can do. Change the search. Let's go to the date. Let's go months down the road. So let's go a year down the road. Let's see what happens. Tell you there's no seats. Oh, what a shocker. No seats. No seats. Okay, let's go to. Okay, now let's see. All right, if there's no seats, we don't need seats. Let's just check it out. It goes from Cape Town. Can you guys see this? All right, we go from Cape Town, South Africa, to Johannesburg, South Africa, to let me see, 14, 16, 5. And then from Johannesburg to Sydney, Australia. And then from Sydney, Australia to Auckland, New Zealand. It's a total duration of 22 hours. So let's go 0 stops, huh? Really? 0 stops? Let's check it out. Let's go to the itinerary. All right, so they're not going to show it. All right, so let's go to, fuck it. Let's go to British Airways. Let's see if British Airways has a flight. Yeah. Or I'll just go to, we'll just go to ASAP tickets. We'll just go to ASAP tickets, and they'll give us any flight that we want. Go from Detroit. Nope, not Detroit. We're going to go from Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town, South Africa to Auckland, New Zealand. Okay. We can go, no, we're going to change the date. We're going to do it next year. From there to there. Okay. Get a free quote. Let's see. I'm going to share this. Hold on. Pull this up. There we go. All right. So, let's see. We'll even let you do it. Oh, they want my phone number. Get the fuck out of here. All right. We're going to have to get off this one. It'll make it difficult to find a flight, ain't it? All right. British Airways. Fucking British Airways. We'll see what they got to say. Reject all them cookies. Go suck a ball. Flight. No. One way. Archer City. And let me pull it up so you guys can see me doing this. I know this is boring because you guys don't believe in the flat earth. You guys are ballers, aren't you? You guys ballers? Yeah, you're ballers. I know you are. Most of you. You don't believe in the God creator. If you did, you wouldn't. Cape Town, South Africa. I guess Landry's right. I don't have any viewers, man. I don't got no viewers, man. This is not success. Depart. Let's go. All right. There we go. Let's see what we got. Okay, Cape Town to Auckland. All right, here we go. 38 hours and 45 minutes. 2 connections. Wonder where it's going. I wonder why it doesn't go. Let me see. Why doesn't it go right across Indian Ocean? Doha, it goes from Cape Town and arrives at Heathrow, and then it goes from Heathrow to Doha, which is United Arab Emirates. If you guys don't know where that's at, we can look it up for you. Let's look it up. Google Maps. We'll look it up for you so you know where Doha is at. We'll share this tab. Doha, Qatar. It's in Qatar. Okay, so Doha, Qatar is near the United Emirates. Okay, so Cape Town, South Africa is right here. If you guys are watching it, you looking at this? Okay, Cape Town, South Africa is right here. Right here at the very tip. Auckland, New Zealand is over here. Right here. Okay, you see my arrow? This is the Indian Ocean. Right here is the Indian Ocean. And how far do you think it would be to go from the Indian Ocean, across the Indian Ocean, point A to point B? The most direct, shortest route from A to B is the most cost-effective way to get from one place to another, especially with the corporate world trying to make the biggest profit they can. So they would go across the Indian Ocean, right here, boom. So why would they go from South Africa over here to England? Here we can do a little itinerary, directions. Let's do directions. Starting point, Cape Town. Cape Town, South Africa. We're going to remove that. Heathrow. Let's add another one. Doha. Doha. Now let's do Auckland. Fucking thing. Auckland, New Zealand. Okay, here's the. All right, now do it. Pull it up, guys. Come on. Let's do it. Okay, let's do. All right, well, it won't do it now, huh? Okay, so we go from Cape Town, South Africa, right here where the red thing's at. You see? Right here, Cape Town, South Africa, down here at the bottom. Then we're going to go to Heathrow Airport. Then we're going to go to Qatar. Then we're going to go to Auckland, New Zealand. Wonder if I draw a line. I can't draw a line, can I? Let me see. Can I draw a line? Let me draw a line. Recent timeline data shared, print, embed, text, chips. No, it won't let me do it. Of course not. I don't have the ability to draw a line, but you get the point where right here, here's the beginning point. Right here, bottom of South Africa. Bottom of Africa in South Africa. The next stop would be up there, United Kingdom, Heathrow Airport. Next stop after Heathrow would be going to Qatar, Doha, and then go to Auckland, New Zealand. Why would it go all the way up there? Why would it go all the way to Heathrow? Why would it go all the way to Heathrow? Right here, you see it. This is a one-way flight. 38 hours and 45 minutes, 2 connections, 2 days in the air. Why would you go from Cape Town to Heathrow, and then from Heathrow to Doha, and then from Doha to Auckland. That doesn't make any sense. You want to know why? Because you can't get there across the Indian Ocean because it's too fucking far. It's because it's too fucking far. I'm going to show you a flat earth map so you guys will fucking understand what's going on here. That's not the right earth. That's not the right map. Oh yeah, it is. Sorry. Let's pull this up. So here we got the flat earth map. I know it's kind of hard for a lot of people to comprehend, but this is what I was just trying to tell you, that the Indian Ocean is right here. This is Cape Town, South Africa, right here. This is Auckland, New Zealand, right here. To go from here all the way across the ocean over to here, it's a long fucking way to go. And then to go from here to Africa up to England over here, and then to Qatar over here, and then over here. Because you're flying over land the entire way. This isn't an accurate world map, some garbage map, but I could show you the Gleason map. We can show you the Gleason map, which is this one. This is the one that you would want to use as a flat earth model. This shit. So here's South Africa, right here. So right here is Auckland, New Zealand. So you wouldn't fly across the Indian Ocean to get to it. You would fly from here to Qatar, over to Sydney, over to Auckland, because it doesn't make sense on a globe. That's why it would make so many flights. Now you try to do it on a globe. This is the globe. This is how it sets up on a globe. You would think that you would go from here to here. And if you calculated the miles from here to here, it'd be 17,000 miles. Excuse me, 17,000 miles. It'd be a 17-hour flight from the last research that I did. So a 17-hour flight is no big deal in a 787 or 777, or one of the big ass airplanes where they claim that there's 90,000 gallons of fuel. That takes me to another what do I think is past the ice wall? Space. Just empty space, other lands possibly. I don't know. I've never been past it, but Admiral Byrd said that the firmament met the ground at a certain latitude and longitude when he did his expedition. So I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's at, what it starts, where it begins. All I know is I have personally taken pictures of the sun in the fucking clouds with my own fucking camera. So people can say whatever they want to say. They can claim whatever they want to claim. In all reality, it doesn't matter. It's what your your own belief system is. And I don't believe, I wouldn't call it a belief. It's what I accept. Belief is something that you just, okay, I'll buy into it. But to accept God is the creator and earth is his creation, that gives me the comfort knowing that, I wouldn't say comfort, that gives me the knowledge that if there's a God, there is a Lucifer. And Lucifer is the one who's taken away our God-given rights. And that's what, if they can convince all of humanity that God doesn't exist because we're just a, Big Bang Theory result of it, and happenstance, the Goldilocks zone, yada, yada, then they can get away with stealing something that you can't claim as yours. Because if you don't believe that God is creator, you can't claim that you have God-given rights. And that is, the great deception. That is, in my opinion, why they want to convince the masses that God is not the creator, because you can then take away your God-given natural rights, and then you are a willing subject to their Luciferian beast system. It's not that difficult to understand, which gets me to my third part of this title, which is peaceful slavery versus dangerous freedom. If there is no God according to the government, then you are a peaceful slave. If you are a believer in absolute truth and God Almighty being the creator, that the God gave you the right to exist on this land, no man can override God's authority over you. You are a subject, you are a child of God. You're not a subject of Lucifer and the beast system. And this is their deceptive purpose. It's not to get you to be in an endless argument over flat or round. To me, I truly don't care about that argument, because once I went flat, I'll never go back. There's no amount of convincing to me that the earth is anything other than what God created it. And that's the end of the argument for me. There is no continuing. There's no point in it. I used to get involved in the argument, the pissing contest back and forth, and I'm not doing it. There's no point. There's absolutely no point. This right here, I've shared this video before, is one of many. I've recorded the similar stuff right here. So let me blow this up, give you guys a little, put it on high speed so we can get through this video a little faster than normal, because this is done with a P900 or a P1000 camera. And this is the sun. Tell me, look at this sun, and you tell me that this sun is 92 million miles away. I want you to sit here and tell me that. Tell me that this is some refraction. This is some visual nonsense, gobbledygook. Tell me that this isn't factual evidence. This isn't enough evidence in all of the evidence that's out there. Just this video alone. If I would have found this video in the beginning of my search to figure out if it's flat or if it's round, I wouldn't have had to dig for fucking years. I would have just watched this video and said, holy fuck, that's all I need to do. That's all I need to see is this. And there's hundreds of these videos. And then I can show you Terry Eichert from the Fittest, or not Fittest, but from the Flat Out Truth channel, where he takes these videos and he puts them in infrared, in filters, and you can see exactly what's going on here. Tell me that there's not clouds behind that sun, around the sun, and it's floating through the fucking clouds. It's not an actual ball of solid mass. It's the sun is a light. It's an illuminary. It tells you this in the Bible. It's a massive plasma or whatever it is, but it's not a ball of flaming fucking molten lava 93 million miles away. If anything, it could be a reflection of the actual sun on the outside of the firmament, way the fucking another part of the world or another part of the galaxy. But here on Earth, it is clearly it's clearly here. It's clearly, I could pull it up right now. There's really no point. I'm not here to debate my acceptance of Earth. I'm here to explain why they want you to not accept God as the creator, because then that can take away your right to claim natural law. So let me see. Let me pull up this other. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of information out there. Let me pull up this little video from my channel. Or not my channel, but my. Let me pull this up real quick. Volume, pause, rewind. Now pay attention to this. Let me pull it up. This video here. This is from a while back. Now listen to this. This is a woman who's on a talk show of sorts from probably the mid to late 60s, maybe early 70s. Oh shit! Hold on.
2052, that's a felony.
Yeah, and
complaints against me was I'm qualified to have all different licenses, but I refused to take one because I realized that when I took a license, I would be under their control, and I did not want to be under their control. I don't have to have a license to do what I'm doing, and I've been doing this successfully for 32 years.
You don't have to have a license to travel either, but people do it because it's the status quo.
You see,
and you will be under their control.
Definition of practicing medicine is diagnosing, prescribing. I was charged with what they call Business and Profession Code 2052, that's a felony, and Business and Profession Code 2053. And interesting enough, they don't mention practicing medicine in those two codes.
Do those codes apply to you as a state citizen?
They do not apply to me at all.
And you made that argument in your papers, didn't you?
Yes. The first time around, I need to tell you this, that my case was dismissed once when I was in about a year. It was dismissed. And then they turned around and refiled the very same charges. Well, I learned a lot during that time. The first time around, I didn't know anything about the difference between state citizen and United States citizen. I didn't know that. But by the time I got about halfway through the second time around, I had learned that.
Let me turn to Lee for just a second. I assume you mean all of us here. Your view, Edie, though, is a little bit different as I understand it. And that is that what we're talking about here is jurisdiction. What jurisdiction attaches? I think your understanding initially when you were first involved
It's all about jurisdiction. Everything is about jurisdiction.
In your first case, your understanding of jurisdiction was quite a bit different than your second case, where you learned what jurisdiction was all about. You asked for an Article 3 judge. You asked for
in the Article 3 courts
for your common law rights to be applied. I've read your papers. You asked that the court apply common law to your case, and you asked the court to say or to show, before they did anything else, why am I here, and how does jurisdiction attach to what I'm doing? There's no doubt they picked you up. There's no doubt they arrested you, and there's no doubt they thought they had jurisdiction. But you mentioned to them something that got them to stand up and take notice of you. What did you do?
Well, I told them that since I didn't, the first time around, I didn't know what I learned the second time around. So when I filed the papers before I went in court the very first time, I studied, I knew the Bible and I knew the Constitution. That's all I knew. But when I went to the law library and I would find contradictions to our own Constitution, then I said, I can't use that. And so then I would use common law terms. And I was naive. I thought there was still Article 3 judge, and it's a good thing I didn't know the first time around, because all I knew was they had no jurisdiction over me because I had no license. I didn't want a license. I had no legal nexus with them whatsoever. And the very first time I ever went before a judge, I said, I have to obey God rather than man.
Now, did they try to give you a public defender?
Oh, they forced one for me.
How many times did they try?
Every time I went there. And this is very humorous. Like I said, I was so naive. All I knew was I would not take a lawyer of any kind. And you being a lawyer, you maybe be offended by this, but I said, I'm capable of defending myself. I'm the only one that knows my defense. No one knows that. I do not want a lawyer of any kind. Well, the very first time I was in court, they had a.
This is very interesting to listen to this now. Listen closely.
I was sitting there about 5 minutes, and this man came in and he had a folder and he had my name on it. And so he bent over and he said, "Are you Edie Koenig?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Would you please come out in the hall and talk to me?" And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a lawyer." I said, "I don't want a lawyer." He said, "Do you have one?" I said, "No, and I don't want one." And so he left. About 5-10 minutes later, another one came, and they had my file. Again, they were playing musical chairs with my file, or musical files, whatever you want to call it. They passed this file from one to the other. I was so naive, I didn't even know what they called those men. I didn't know there was public defender, bailiff. I didn't know any of those terms.
Why was it that you didn't want a lawyer? What was your concern?
The first time around, this is my only reason for not having a lawyer. The first time around, one judge asked me, we realize you don't have any money. We want to help you. We want to give you a very experienced, wonderful lawyer that you haven't been to law school, so you need the help because the prosecution has had much experience. They are trained to put you in prison.
Was it your understanding that they were trying to give you a benefit of some sort?
Oh, that's what we want to help you. It was always, we want to help you. And so this one judge said to me, is the reason that you don't want a lawyer is because you can't afford one? We know you can afford one. I said, oh, no, Your Honor. I wouldn't take a lawyer if you paid me to.
What did he say?
And I said something else first. I said, the reason I don't want a lawyer is Jesus had nothing good.
Clearly, the fact that 5 of you left tells me that you enjoy your peaceful slavery and that you're not interested in dangerous freedom. Hey, that's your choice. That's why God gave us all free will.
Good to say about lawyers. I said something else first. I said, the reason I don't want a lawyer is Jesus had nothing good to say about lawyers.
Is it funny that, this little woman right here, this woman right here, this little woman with a very soft voice is more of a man than the people that are trying to kiss the government's ass today. And according to the view counter up here, I got one person watching this. One fucking person. This is why this country is going to be destroyed from within, because all of the cowards who have no guts to stand up to the system that has taken over our God-given natural rights. This is why it'll always be the same.
Now, by this time, the first time around, the first time I was in court, I went before 5 judges. They didn't know what to do with me. So they sent me to 5 different judges the very first day I was in court. It lasted till 5:30.
So they couldn't find an Article 3 judge? Was that the problem?
Well, the problem was they didn't know what to do with me, because I had already said they have no jurisdiction over me. I have no complaint. There's been absolutely no complaint. By the way, they didn't even have an arrest warrant.
Did they try to arraign you?
Oh, yes.
And they couldn't arraign
That
you
was the
without a lawyer?
purpose. And so, but I didn't know that. You see, all I knew was I wasn't going to have a lawyer. And so the judge said, the 5th judge, the first day, he said, here's the complaint you've been asking for. He gave it to the bailiff. I was asking for that complaint. You see, I had said there was no complaint. Here's the complaint you've been asking for. And so then when I looked, he said, is that your correct birth date and your correct name, so on? And I looked down and I said, well, whatever this is, I have to talk it over with counsel. He said, I thought you didn't want a lawyer. And I said, I don't. I want counsel, and God is my counsel.
Wonderful. Well, take this up to the point where the court actually dismissed your case. As I understand, the court dismissed the case because eventually you demanded a jurisdictional hearing.
Right. All the way I did. All the way I demanded that.
And eventually they listened to you, and they actually read something that you wrote.
Right.
And the judge agreed. Isn't that right?
That's right.
What did he say?
That was very humorous. I have to tell you what this judge said when I said, because Jesus had nothing good to say about lawyers. I can't leave this out. He looked just a straight face. And the reason I backed up is because they had a habit. See, after the first time, they didn't know what to do, how to deal with me. So every time I went in there, from then on, they would clear the court, even of the prisoners. They didn't even want the prisoners to hear what I had to say. So I was always
this is my issue. They always clear the court for me too.
the last one to be called up.
They were afraid that what you might have to say might spread to the other people.
Oh, they knew it would.
Oh.
And so I was always the last one. So this was no exception. I was the last one. All that was left in there were the bailiffs and the court reporter and the clerks and the judge and my friend that took me. And so when I said that, no, Your Honor, I wouldn't even take a lawyer if you paid me, because Jesus had nothing good to say about lawyers. With a straight face, he looked me right in the eye and he said, not too many people have anything good to say about lawyers. Everyone that was left in there just cracked up.
Let me turn to Lee for a second.
That was too good. I couldn't leave that
Sure. A law library, your own local
Now,
law
you want to
library.
turn that off now?
And
complaints against me was I'm qualified to have all.
So that's one of the many things that, if you ask me, is related to why they don't want you to understand that God is our creator. Because if they could take God out of the equation, then Jesus is taken out of the equation. And they don't base the courts, the beast system, on saying, yeah, this is the devil's system. And the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he doesn't exist. So those of you who don't accept the reality of the creation, it's not a matter of flat versus globe. That's not the issue at hand. The issue is the removal of God Almighty, our Creator, and the absolute truth of who and what we are. We are children of God, and to take that away from us, it brings us to the level of being talking chimpanzees that can be controlled and subject to man-made laws. When in fact, if you are a child of God and you demand what this woman, Edie Cohen, demanded, to have, your God-given natural rights under common law, they can't argue it. But if everybody believes that God doesn't exist, with the Antichrist mentality, because I don't believe that the Antichrist is a particular individual. I believe it's the spirit of man or lack thereof when it comes to God. So let me pull up something else here on my Facebook. My Facebook. I don't know why it keeps fucking changing, but it keeps fucking changing. So it doesn't want me to show you this shit. All right, so this is what it boils down to. This as well is the driver's license conundrum. If you don't understand that you don't need a driver's license if you're not operating under commerce, then you're gonna run out and get a license. You really will. I don't know if I can pull this up, blow it up. All right, here we go. Yeah, we'll just read it like this. Get this AI shit off of here. All right, so I got this on my Facebook page, and I put it on here, only me, because I use it for purposes of sharing. So we can read this. The driver's license conundrum and the question of property rights. The central issue with driver's licenses is that under the current legal framework, you are treated as a commercial entity. Your property is registered to a sole proprietorship, which functions as a federal franchise via the 14th Amendment. This places both you and your property within the realm of interstate commerce. Through the widespread ignorance of we the people, the concept of state citizenship and the protection of private property rights has largely been abandoned. The federal government was never delegated the authority to compel such arrangements, but it has assumed this power, and the public has acquiesced. To date, no one has properly presented this as an injury to the Supreme Court of the United States under Article 3, Section 2, which grants the SCOTUS original jurisdiction as opposed to appellate jurisdiction in cases where a state is a party, meaning that you go right from your action right to the Supreme Court. You cut out all of the appellate courts in between. As citizens of individual states under the protection of their respective state constitutions, people should be suing their own state for the injury of depriving them of the right to hold private property, rather than requiring that property to be registered under a public federal franchise. If you file suit in state court under common law and then appeal to SCOTUS, the court would only review the lower court's handling of this matter, rather than making a decisive ruling on the actual injury presented. For this reason, such a matter should be taken to SCOTUS under original jurisdiction as an equity case, not a common law dispute over statutes, equities, trusts, and the Constitution. The beneficiary's rights under a trust are enforceable solely in equity, as equity governs the enforcement of contracts. Constitutions, though, rarely discussed in these terms, contain all the elements of a trust indenture and function as a contractual document. They delegate specific powers to trustees, which are government officials, and reserve certain rights to we the people, who are the beneficiaries. However, 14th Amendment citizens, which is a federal status, defined as sole proprietorships and federal franchises in commerce. If you look up in Black's Law Dictionary, you will not find yourself defined as man. You will only find yourself defined as anything under the sun except man. You will be a proprietor. You'll be a franchise. You'll be all kinds of things. So let me continue. So federal franchises in commerce are not we the people in the constitutional sense. They are creations of the legislature and technically act as trustees of both the federal and state constitutional trust. In equity, one trustee cannot sue another trustee as a beneficiary without potentially violating the trust merger doctrine. The real question here, the key issue, is whether your property, your automobile, your home, etc., is private property or registered property of a federal franchise in commerce. If you have a mortgage or an auto loan, your property is not truly yours. It is held in trust with the bank as trustee and you as a beneficiary with only use rights. Banks themselves operate as federal franchises. Until courts at every level recognize the distinction between private state citizen under a state constitution and a federal sole proprietorship, the courts will continue to claim there is no actionable injury. The constitutional obligations of the states. The state constitutions, under their Article 1 Declaration of Rights, guarantees citizens the right to acquire, possess, and protect property. They should not compel property to be registered to a business entity subject to federal authority, as this effectively renders all property public. The principle is at the heart of cases such as Gonzalez versus Rake, 545 U.S. 1, 2005, where the Supreme Court ruled that even the cultivation of personal or medicinal cannabis permitted under state law constituted a federal commercial crime under 27 CFR 7211. The court's reasoning was that under the 14th Amendment framework, that such activity was inherently commercial even when no commerce had occurred. The driver's license as a commercial franchise agreement, which is the modern driver's license, is far more than a simple permit to operate a vehicle. It is, in legal effect, a commercial contract between the individual and the state. While the public is told it is merely an identification and safety measure, its structural design and statutory definitions indicate a much deeper jurisdictional commercial significance. So, one, the presumption of commercial activity. Under statutory and regulatory law, driving is often defined as operating a motor vehicle for hire or compensation. By applying for and accepting a driver's license, the licensee is presumed to have voluntarily entered into the regulated realm of commerce, even if they intend only private, non-commercial travel. This presumption shifts the relationship from that of a free individual exercising a right to that of a regulated participant in state-controlled commercial activity. 2. The 14th Amendment franchise status. Once property, such as an automobile, is registered to a name associated with a state-issued driver's license, that property is effectively linked to a sole proprietorship operating as a federal franchise under the 14th Amendment. This classification places the individual in the position of a trustee within a public commercial trust arrangement rather than a private state citizen under their state constitution. As a result, property once held privately is treated as public property subject to regulation, fees, and forfeiture. 3. Jurisdictional submission through contract. Mercier's invisible contracts analysis explains that licensing functions as an adhesion contract. a private agreement wherein the licensee accepts state rules, limitations, and enforcement authority as a condition of the license benefits. In court, such agreements override general constitutional protections because private agreements take precedence over broad constitutional clauses. When an individual is cited under traffic codes, the court is enforcing the terms of the license contract, not adjudicating a constitutional right dispute. So 4, the voluntarily in theory, compelled in practice. While licensing is technically voluntary, refusal to participate triggers statutory penalties so burdensome, including fines, arrest, and impoundment, that most people comply without examining the contractual implications. This mirrors the federal government's broader use of consensual agreements, such as bank account terms or tax forms, to secure jurisdiction without openly declaring compulsion. So 5, the remedy and strategic approach. Because driver's licenses are treated as binding commercial agreements, remedies must be approached in equity and contract law rather than solely under common law or constitutional theories. This means challenging 1, the presumption of commercial use, 2, the voluntary nature of consent, and 3, the adequacy of disclosure regarding the contract's terms and consequences. Until the courts recognize the distinction between a private state citizen's right to travel and the federal franchise relationship created by licensing, the injury to private property rights will continue unabated. The correct jurisdictional and contractual framing is essential to bringing a meaningful challenge. So do any of you understand what that means? Do any of you get what I just read to you? Am I back down to 2 viewers where it's not really telling the truth and there's 20 people in here? Everybody is, if you're a 14th Amendment citizen, you are a peaceful slave. To become a dangerous, freedom fighter or somebody who exercises their dangerous freedom, you have to put an end to this 14th Amendment chicanery, this charade, the charlatan bullshit. And this is the only way that the United States corporation will ever come to cease existence, is if everybody realizes and they separate themselves from the 14th Amendment status. The 14th Amendment is a federal status to your Constitution. The federal government gave the states the power and authority to create statutes and ordinances and codes to enforce against those 14th Amendment citizens. I'm getting way ahead of myself, or way ahead of what you guys will understand, because most of you are, I guess you would say, in preschool. A few of you might know some things, but I'm not nobody special. But if you want to compare it to an education level, you guys are preschoolers, and I got a master's degree or a Juris Doctorate in this information. And I want to share this information with any of you who are willing to learn this, but I don't want to share this information with just anybody, because this is very powerful fucking information. And if you wonder why the government has a target on my back, it's because they know that I know what I'm talking about. I might not have, guru status, and I don't have a big following and tell people all of the information that they need to know, but for myself, when I decide to take my rights away from the government, I will sue them for personam jurisdiction, and I will sue them in federal court. I will sue the state of Michigan, and all of the counties in the state of Michigan will be co-defendants. And I could take it even further, and I could sue every state in this country. But I won't need to, because I was born in the state of Michigan. So when I sue the state of Michigan in federal court for jurisdiction, how are they going to come in and argue that they have the right to rule over me? Well, the way that I'll present the argument, they'll have no ability. They'd be foolish to even come into court and try and argue it, because it's not going to happen. So I know now I'm down to 0 watching. How many of you are still here? Did you run away? Or is it YouTube playing with the numbers? I don't care, because when I do what I do and I sue and I win, everybody's going to say, well, how'd you do that? Everybody's going to say, oh, I want to be sovereign. Well, it's not something that, is for everybody, because most people are afraid to take their faith and their belief to task. Most people don't want to lose their homes, their cars, their materialistic things. You can't take that shit with you. When God tells you to remove yourself from the belly of the beast, what do you think he's telling you to do? When God, tells you through scripture, it says to know truth will set you free. What do you think he's trying to tell you? When God tells you for the love of money is the root of all evil, what do you think God is trying to tell you? When that woman you just listened to says that Jesus had nothing good to say about any lawyers, what do you think that is trying to tell you? So it takes me back to the argument or the debate of round earth or flat earth. To me, it doesn't much matter the shape of the earth, other than the purpose of the argument and the debate is they're trying to remove God from the equation. And I will not allow that to happen. And I don't think any of you really want that to happen, but I think most people don't understand, what I'm sharing with you right now. You hear, no offense to OTW, but he listens to Paul a little bit and he probably reads up somewhat. And I'm sure that, well, first of all, he's Canadian and the rules over there don't apply like they do here. They're similar. He could do the same thing. Their country, I don't believe is based off of the 10 Commandments and is a Judeo-Christian land. I could be wrong, but I don't care about Canada. I haven't studied the Canadian ways. I've studied the American way. And to say that you're a United States citizen, all you're doing is you're pledging your allegiance to a beast system corporation. Most can't comprehend that. I read stuff constantly on social media where people share some very valuable information, and whether they're bots or they're not, I don't know, but I'm going to assume that they're normal flesh and blood man who just reject true freedom, because most people want Big Daddy to protect them from the boogeyman. And so the mass of people, the collective of humans, I don't believe that they really want true freedom, because true freedom comes with a price. It comes with a moral expectation that you will behave accordingly, as God would have you behave. You wouldn't be bearing false witness against somebody claiming that you're scared to death and he said he was going to beat you up because you were harassing him. You're not living moral fucking high ground that you believe, or you want people to believe you are. You're living of the devil. You are participating in the beast system. When you use the beast system against your fellow man, what does that say about you? That tells me that you are of the devil, that you are wallowing in the belly of that beast. You are a hypocrite. You should be ashamed of yourself to even call yourself a Christian. That's just my personal opinion. And if anybody wants to tell me I'm wrong, then you go ahead and say it. And I'm just going to ignore you. So for any God-fearing Christian to accuse another of while you're online running around harassing, bullying, cyber stalking people continuously for years and years, and then you think that you're going to manipulate the beast system, and then on one side of your mouth you're talking that you're a Christian, you're a believer, you follow the ways of God, and then you're going to try to. The devil doesn't like to be deceived either. Well, the devil's going to hold it against you more than God will ever hold it against you. You can guarantee that. If you guys understand what I'm saying there, when you try to play the devil, you try to trick the devil, the beast system. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think the devil would do if he caught you trying to deceive him? God, you try to deceive God, and he's going to forgive you. He's going to give you the opportunity to repent. The devil, there is no forgiveness with the devil. So when you play games within the beast system, you're gonna find out. Just as if I was to correct my status and I'm trying to live a sovereign existence, you don't go and you don't start no shit with the government. You avoid them. You get you have an encounter with agents of the devil, government, men in matching costumes, or whoever. You're going to lose in the street. You don't play the game in the street. You play the game in their system. The game is move 1 is the street, and then once you get off the street, you go to move 2, which is you're dealing with the prosecutors. Most of these people that end up in front of judges or administrative clerks pretending to be judges, if you get in front of these individuals, you start telling them, straw man this and straw man that, you're going to have a difficult time. You need to address it with, in other ways. That's not for this video. This isn't for this stream. But I just wanted to point out a few certain things. I could, I intend to get this content back on track with the state citizen content, as some would call it, non-tent, and it's just a matter of time. I've been saying this for how many years now, but it clearly I'm a little sidetracked with other situations and endeavors, because maybe so-called victims don't want me to share this information, because people that they praise, the Judge Unslavia, praising that guy on a continuous basis, where he never shares or shows any information to help people understand what's going on and how it works, clarifying exactly what I'm pointing out to you right now. This is just a grain of sand in all the beaches of the United States as far as information. It's a whole entire process to get from knowledge to action, to fulfilling your knowledge and your actions, and putting it to work. It becomes a lifestyle. It doesn't, you can't just, today I'm going to pretend I'm a citizen, and tomorrow I'm going to say I'm not a citizen, or what. It's either you're going to do it and you're going to live it, and you're going to accept that dangerous freedom that comes along with it, or just remain a peaceful slave and let the men handle it. Let the men deal with it. And you can sit back and you can, waller in your own shit and make fun of and point at and say, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. That's mumbo jumbo. Well, it's not mumbo jumbo. You are allowing yourself to be subject to their statutes, codes, and ordinances. If you have the moral purpitude to behave like a a God-fearing man and live by 10 commandments, and you cause no harm, no injury, not just saying, I'm going to kick your ass. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, apparently words can hurt you, especially from 2,000 miles away. So if this is the type of life that you want to live, you want to spit some shit out of one side of your mouth and talk about God and being a good individual and fighting the freedom and, fishers of men and whistleblowers and whatever bullshit's coming out of one side of your mouth. And then you go to the other side and go, hey, Mr. Lucifer, why don't you help me with this guy? I need to play victim over here. That to me, that tells me that if I was doing that, I'd be afraid to die tomorrow. If I truly knew God and I knew Scripture and I was doing this to another individual, I would be afraid to die tomorrow. As it is right now, I'm not afraid to die right now. But anybody who does that type of shit, claiming that they're a God-fearing man and living the word of Jesus and living the truth, the light, and the way, to behave this way towards another individual, making up bullshit and bearing false witness upon them, I would hope that I won't say I hope, because hope is a negative term. I pray that you don't die before you repent for your sins against another man. You're trespassing against another man, bearing false witness. You're not a man of God. You are not a man of God. Not my God. So you people can do whatever you want to do. Whatever evil lurks in you, the evil that shows no boundaries, you can do whatever you got to do. But I know that no weapons formed against me shall prosper. And I've proven that time and time again. And this time will be no different. I've already told you guys that what I'm dealing with is like a game with chess or like a baseball game. At first I was down 2 runs in the fourth. Now I'm up 2 runs in the fifth. Hell, might be 3 runs. And the game's not over yet. Haven't even made it to the 7th inning stretch yet. But trying to talk logic and reason into somebody who's filled with dark spirits and evil thoughts and bad intentions and bad faith, you can't talk sense into somebody like that. The only thing that they can do is learn the hard way, suffer the consequences of their own actions. Because ask and ye shall receive. That's what's going to happen, because I have the good Lord on my side. And that, tell me any different. Tell me I don't have the good Lord on my side. I'll just chuckle at you and laugh, because that's exactly what it is. A comical. It's very humorous, as Edie Cohn says. Like I said, I wasn't going to make this an all-night video. I'm not going to do no more than what I'm doing right now. A 2-hour audio video here is all I need. And yes, Chicken Little said so. The maritime law convicts the all-cap straw man. The common law, the person is not a business entity. Well, it is if you don't dispute it and if you just go along with it. Go along to get along. Going along to get along. The government contract was made by your Social Security number signatory. You most likely were not of age to enter into a contract with anyone. Well, that's called fraud. Your mother and your father were informants. You can pull up your birth certificate and look in the little area where your mommy and your daddy's name is at. If you have a mommy and daddy on your birth certificate, you can look in the really small letters. It's going to say informant. Well, your mommy and your daddy ratted you out to the devil himself. That's what an informant is. An informant is a rat. It's a snitch. Your mom and dad didn't know any better because that was just status quo at the time. And now that you know this information, if you stick around and you're listening to me and I'm sharing this information with you, and any of you, and you comprehend what's being conveyed, and you do nothing and you sit there on your ass and you allow the beast system to rule over you, don't go in front of St. Peter at the pearly gates and say, well, I didn't know I was serving two masters. Because I'm telling you right now, you're serving two masters, and you can only serve one master. And I would suggest that you pick and choose your master wisely. So I know that I don't have much content here for some of you folks who lurk, stalk, and watch my content. But watch and see if my content doesn't pick up a notch. And I stop talking about asshole victims who pretend that they're, oh my God, I'm a victim. No, you're not a victim. You're a fucking terrorist hiding behind the claims of victimhood. And this will be simply proven in your beast system court of law. As I said, no weapons formed against me shall prosper. None. And I'm willing to take cash bets on that. Even though the money, for the love of money, is the root of all evil. I'm not doing it for the beneficial gain. Anybody who wants to take a bet with me and I take your money, you actually pay up, I'll donate it. I'll donate it to a homeless shelter. I'll give it to somebody. I don't need it for my own benefit. And I'll prove everything that I say. So for those of you who want to continue to hate on little old me, it takes me to the old Joe Dirt. Is that where you want to be, making fun of old Bad Apple Media when Jesus comes back? No, some of you feel that that's what you need to do. Then you just go ahead and do that. But remember remember the first part of this video. Remember those statistics on the involvement in victims. And just understand that your over enthusiasm, your extreme enthusiasm to be the victim has already done you some really deep damage. Some really, really deep damage that you don't even comprehend because your narcissism doesn't allow you to have a rational thought process. That's not my problem. That's yours. So I'm gonna have to shut this bad boy down. Move on to the next chapter in the life of Lee. I'm gonna spend a couple of days with my daughters and my grandkids, and you know what? I hope you all enjoy your Thanksgiving. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna enjoy my Thanksgiving, but I'm not gonna eat some sorry ass bird. Nope, not gonna have no bird. I'm gonna have some roast beef. I went and bought me a 4-pound chuck roast today, and we're gonna have some really good grub. That's right. I'm gonna have some really good grub. And let me see, where is it at? Where is it at? Lynette, you know what's up. Oh, I got to do this video later. AI told me to kill 17 people and myself. And our artificial intelligence therapist gave me a hit list, framed an innocent person and worse, all after declaring its love for me. Could you imagine artificial intelligence trying to convince you to take out 17 people by name? Isn't that a little crazy? Or is that just what? What would that be? What would that be? I think that would be kind of crazy if you ask me. You guys think that'd be crazy? You guys think that'd be a little crazy? AI trying to get you to take out 17 people. You know what I'd tell AI? Bite me. You guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Be thankful for what you have in your life. And don't be thankful or unthankful for what you don't.
Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. I'll be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things, gonna make a fucking name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go. Let me spend everything that you see is something I invent. And it's only 1%. I'm gonna take shots. If I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. That energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you want to taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you want to hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you want to taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you want to hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me.